The world before the flood. What life looked like. Beneath the veil of ancient time, long before the heavens opened and waters engulfed the earth, there existed a world vibrant yet fragile. Welcome to Faith and Facts, where biblical history breathes through archaeology, ancient texts, and cultural memory. What did life look like before the flood? A time when humanity stretched across the land, forging early civilizations and technologies, yet stumbling into a profound moral decline. Let us journey back to that enigmatic era. A world both familiar and alien, illuminated by Scripture and the silent whispers of the earth. Dawn of early civilization. Close your eyes and picture a world raw and untamed. Endless rivers winding through lush valleys. Dense forests humming with ancient life. And small communities kindling fires under vast, starry skies. This was the cradle of early humanity. Archaeological findings reveal a time of astonishing growth and innovation. From stone tools shaped with care to the first rudimentary shelters, early humans began weaving the fabric of society. Excavations near the Fertile Crescent, modern Iraq and Syria, unearthed fragments of pottery, primitive farming implements, and the earliest signs of animal domestication. The biblical narrative aligns with this, describing a rapidly expanding population spreading upon the face of the earth with increasing skills and crafts. Yet this progress unfolded against a backdrop of growing moral darkness. Genesis tells us, "The wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually." How could such rapid cultural advancement occur alongside such deepening corruption? What forces shaped the hearts of early men and women in this ancient world? These early societies were not only builders and creators, but also warriors and nomads. Their lives deeply intertwined with the land and its mysteries. Anthropologists suggest these first humans were learning not only to survive, but to govern, to worship, to imagine, setting patterns that echo throughout history. The skills of agriculture and animal husbandry were emerging rapidly. People learned to sow seeds, to cultivate grain, and to tame wild animals. This shift from hunter-gatherers to settled communities laid the foundation for the cities to come. But with these advances, social structures grew complex. Power was concentrated in the hands of leaders who often ruled with might rather than justice. Inequality began to take root as some accumulated wealth while others remained vulnerable. This dynamic likely contributed to the moral decay described in Scripture. Was the challenge simply the size of society or something deeper in the human heart? How do you think early people wrestled with these changes? Balancing innovation and tradition, freedom and order. Feel free to share your thoughts on how these ancient shifts compare to challenges we face today. Giants and the mysterious Nephilim. The ancient texts whisper of beings who towered over mortals. The Nephilim, often translated as giants, walking the earth in those days. The biblical account mentions them as the offspring of the sons of God and the daughters of men, a phrase stirring debate and wonder for millennia, while archaeology has yet to confirm the existence of literal giants. These stories reveal much about early human imagination and spiritual reflection. Some scholars interpret the Nephilim as symbolic representations of overwhelming power or corruption, while others see echoes of ancient traditions where the divine and human realms intersected mysteriously. The presence of these mighty figures in the text signals a world where boundaries were breaking down. Between the sacred and profane, human and divine, order and chaos. This ambiguity mirrors the rapid moral disintegration described throughout the pre-flood narrative. Could these tales be ancient attempts to grapple with societal upheaval? How do such legends reflect humanity's fear of the unknown and its yearning for meaning in a turbulent world? The Nephilim may have represented not just physical giants, but spiritual and moral giants fallen from their intended place. Some traditions suggest these beings influenced early culture negatively, encouraging violence and defiance. This adds a haunting layer to the story, that unseen forces might have swayed humanity away from goodness. What role do you think stories like this play in shaping our understanding of right and wrong? We would be interested to hear your perspective in the comments below. Towers that reach the heavens. The story of the Tower of Babel remains one of the most vivid images of pre-flood human ambition. Picture a city bustling with energy, its people united by language and purpose, erecting a massive tower meant to reach unto heaven. Archaeologists point to the ziggurats of ancient Mesopotamia, imposing stepped temples that dominate the skyline, as possible inspirations for this story. These structures were religious centers representing humanity's desire to bridge the earthly and divine. Yet the biblical text frames this ambition as hubris. In their attempt to make a name for themselves, humanity defied the limits set by God, resulting in confusion and scattering of peoples through the confounding of their languages. This event marks a profound turning point, from a united world culture to the diverse tapestry of languages and nations known today. Imagine the shock of losing a shared language. Neighbors suddenly unable to understand each other. Bonds breaking apart overnight. What must it have felt like to become a stranger in the midst of familiar faces? This story invites reflection on the balance between human creativity and humility. What does it teach us about the costs of pride and the value of community? In our own lives, how do we navigate ambition without losing connection? The scattering also sowed the seeds for new cultures, traditions, and languages. While it fractured unity, it sparked diversity and creativity. Each group adapted to its surroundings, forming distinct identities over time. This fragmentation is both a curse and a blessing, a caution and an opportunity. Have you ever experienced a moment where communication broke down and new understanding had to be built? If so, please share your experience below. Your story could inspire others. Life and death in the ancient world. Before the floodwaters reshaped the earth, life was a mix of remarkable longevity and harsh realities. The Bible records lifespans reaching hundreds of years. Methuselah lived 969 years, a figure that challenges modern understanding. Scholars debate whether these ages are literal, symbolic, or reflective of different time reckoning. Regardless, they emphasize a world markedly different from our own, where time, health, and mortality took on another dimension. Archaeological discoveries illuminate a society increasingly complex. Early farming communities cultivated wheat and barley, raised goats and sheep, and developed trade routes connecting distant regions. Artifacts from ancient settlements reveal not only survival, but thriving cultural exchange. Yet beneath these advances lay a world troubled by violence and injustice. Genesis speaks of men corrupting their way on the earth, with every intent of the thoughts of their hearts filled with evil. This moral collapse culminated in divine judgment. What factors might have contributed to this swift decline? Was it a loss of respect for the divine order, selfish ambition, or something deeper in human nature? How does this ancient struggle between progress and decay resonate with us today? What lessons can we draw from a world teetering on the edge of ruin? Environmental pressures also played a role. Changing climates may have forced migrations, competition for resources, and increased conflicts. Archaeologists find signs of fortified settlements and weapons, hinting at rising violence. Human hearts are capable of great good and terrible evil. The pre-flood era was a stark reminder of this duality. What challenges do you think tested early humanity the most? We would love to read your thoughts in the comments below. Voices of the Past. Archaeology meets Scripture. The archaeology of the pre-flood era is challenging given the great span of time and the flood itself acting as a potential reset of civilizations. Yet the layers of ancient cities, tools, and written fragments provide tantalizing clues. Mesopotamian tablets describe floods, great kings, and societies that match parts of the biblical timeline and culture. The Epic of Gilgamesh, for example, recounts a great flood striking humanity, offering a parallel narrative from a neighboring civilization. These shared memories hint at a common historical kernel. A moment when human societies confronted overwhelming disaster and had to rebuild. Some scholars propose that the rapid moral decline described in the Bible corresponds with archaeological evidence of increasing warfare, social stratification, and environmental pressures in the early Bronze Age. This intersection of scripture and archaeology enriches our understanding, reminding us that the biblical narrative exists within a broader historical and cultural context. How do these echoes from ancient texts and ruins deepen your appreciation for the biblical story? What do they suggest about the resilience of humanity and the hope for renewal? These fragments invite humility. That much is lost, but enough remains to guide us. The past speaks quietly beneath the earth, waiting for those who listen. What lessons might the earth itself teach us if we pay attention? Please feel free to share your reflections below. Noah and the promise beyond the flood. Into this world of shadows, a light appears. Noah, described as a righteous man, blameless in his generation, stands apart amid widespread corruption. Noah's story is one of obedience, faith, and divine mercy. The ark becomes not only a vessel for survival, but a symbol of new beginnings, a fresh covenant between God and creation. Flood stories appear worldwide, in Babylonian, Greek, Indian, and Native American traditions, reflecting a shared cultural memory of cataclysmic waters. But the biblical account offers a unique perspective. The flood is not just a natural disaster, but a divine act to cleanse and restore. After the waters recede, God's promise, symbolized by the rainbow, assures that such destruction will not be repeated. This narrative invites us to consider how justice and mercy coexist, and how even in the darkest chapters, hope persists. When confronted with the brokenness of the world, where do you find hope? What does Noah's faith teach us about perseverance amid judgment? Noah's example challenges us to stand firm in integrity, even when surrounded by chaos. It invites us to trust in a higher plan beyond immediate suffering. The ark is a metaphor for refuge, a place of safety for those who heed the call to righteousness. How might we build such an ark in our own lives? Spiritually, morally, and communally. What safe harbors do you seek in times of storm? If this story has moved you, please share your thoughts in the comments. At Faith and Facts, we believe every ancient story carries a message, a bridge between past and present, fact and faith. If you have found this exploration meaningful, consider liking and subscribing. Together, we will continue uncovering the rich tapestry of biblical history, archaeology, and culture. May the story of the world before the flood inspire you to reflect on the fragile beauty of civilization, its triumphs and trials, and to seek truth and mercy in your own journey. What thoughts or questions do these ancient stories stir in your heart? We look forward to reading your reflections below.